All right, three, two, one. Hello, guys. I'm here with news analyst and hip hop artist An0maly. You guys know who he is. Anyway, I don't think I really need to make an introduction. How you doing?
Excellent. How are you?
All right. I'm great. I'm great. Finally, we're trying to get this done forever, and now we're like getting it done. So I'm excited. All right. So I'm just gonna ask you, where did An0maly come from? Where did you come up with that name? Very clever.
I was in a class. It was a school class. It was called like SAT prep class. It was like I don't remember. I was so bad at school. I think it was like elective or you get to choose.
I've taken that. I've taken that course. Yes.
Yeah. So I was in that and I heard the word anomaly and I don't think I'd really heard of it before, and it meant deviation from the normal. Like they use it in basketball if it's like something they've never seen before in space. So I was like, oh, that's cool, and I just started writing it down. Because I rapped and I freestyled with my friends and stuff. So that day I just remember I was like, An0maly, that's my name. I kind of chose it for myself. I don't have a cool story like someone else called me it. I was like, I just heard it and I was like, I wrote it. I remember I just drew it and then it was on. And then I want to say I changed the O to a zero because I found out there was a band named An0maly, so I didn't want to get sued. I was like, you know what? Let's throw the zero in there so I don't get like copyrighted like 5 years down the road.
But that's very clever. I love it. An0maly. Yeah, that's clever. That's a cool story. They use it in math too. I think math, right? An0maly.
It could be used in anything as long as it's like something that's different, a deviation from the normal. But in hindsight, I would say the zero, marketing-wise, it's pretty bad. Like trying to get people to spell my name. So, good, smart to not get sued. Probably bad, pretty bad marketing-wise. Like, who are you watching? Oh, An0maly. AN0. Like the chances of people typing that in right are pretty low.
I caught that right away, and then but people are like AN0. They're like, I can't find you. And you're like, no, it's a zero, not an O. But the zero is obviously bigger. You use like an uppercase zero. I don't know.
It's a zero, but An0maly is a hard word to spell anyway. So sometimes people are like AN0MOY, and like sometimes they put the zero at the end. I would say most people spell it wrong one way or another. So it worked out.
Is it AN0MALY?
Yeah, exactly.
Who are these people that can't spell? That's easy.
I mean, some people will come up to me and they'll be like, oh, and they don't even know my name, but they're like, I know your videos, but I was like, can't be that big of a fan. You don't even know my name.
You're like, peace, be gone with you.
No,
all right.
no.
So I want to ask you, you're like the most diplomatic person I know. Is it easy to be diplomatic? I get to a point where I have I'm patient and then I'm not. And I feel like you maintain a very level head and you're very patient. And you have really clarity of thought, and you can organize your thoughts very well. And I actually admire that. So, is it easy, or have you always been like that?
I don't know. I would say I have a strong side. Like when I play sports or stuff, I could be aggressive, and when I get upset, but I don't get upset very often. I just try to be fair, and that's kind of always how I was. Like growing up playing video games, you always had the friend who would like cheat. Or like change the codes or something. I never felt good about it if I cheated. So, I always like just try to be fair and also treat people how you want to be treated. So I can make jokes about people sometimes, and there are people that I don't really like what they're doing. But I try to think, like I see a lot of people say on Twitter that I'm friends with and that I'm in the same, and they'll attack people like very quickly, like people based on what I think is not that much stuff, where to me, I think, if they'll do that to them, they'll do that to me one day, and vice versa. It's like I'm not a perfect person. I'm not a crazy, terrible person. But at the same time, it's like everyone makes mistakes. So I try to look through the lens of like, how would I want to be treated in this situation? Are they trying to be fair with me, or do they just like hate me? So I try to be as nice as possible. But yeah, it is pretty difficult when you're dealing with some pretty deep levels of like evil and psychoticness nowadays.
Yeah, it is. But you know what? You're very wise to make that observation just about people. Like I'm always like that too. Like I watch other people and how they treat other people, and I'm like, if they're gonna treat somebody like that, then eventually they're gonna treat me like that. And that's just a life lesson I've learned, for sure. If they're, so I think that's just a good way to be regardless of whether you're dealing with a day-to-day person or you're in this, you're fighting crazy leftists,
Absolutely.
Were you, I always ask people this now that I'm kind of dealing more with politics, but did you always, were you always on the Democratic plantation? When did you leave? Were you into politics? Like, what is your political story?
So growing up, my parents never pushed politics on me at all, so I had no idea what they were. In high school, I just like smoked weed, or in college, and I thought Obama, like my thought process was Obama smokes weed, like maybe he'll be cooler than Bush. So I was never really a Democrat. And then I'd heard people like Joe Rogan, Alex Jones, rap groups like Jedi Mind Tricks. So I was deep down the rabbit hole. So I was like, the banks are running everything. The two-party system's corrupt. They're starting all these wars. That's what I kind of thought. But I still fell into some leftist traps, like social justice, like certain aspects of it, where like my high school paper I wrote on prison reform. That's why I'm so blown away, because Trump did prison reform, which I've been talking about since 2008, and now all of a sudden, people don't care about it. But I wasn't a Democrat. I leaned liberal on things like environmentalism and like the climate change narrative and stuff, but I kind of wasn't a Democrat. And I liked Bernie Sanders at the beginning, but at the time I didn't understand economics. My parents didn't teach me, school didn't teach me it really. I didn't understand the economy, I didn't understand taxes, I didn't understand healthcare. I thought he was going to start a revolution, and I thought he was going to like break the two-party system. So people always say, how are you a socialist? I was like, I wasn't really. I just was like tired of all these fake phonies on the left and right, and I was like, maybe Bernie's that outsider, that was fun. So I wasn't quite a Democrat, but I definitely leaned liberal and left, for sure, in most situations. Socially, politically, I just thought Fox News was the worst, and like Democrats were bad, but not quite as bad as like Sean Hannity.
That's so funny, because we're not taught that stuff by design, and I feel like people now that are kind of seeing what's going on now, we're scrambling to re-educate ourselves and learn stuff over again, and I was a teacher, so there's some guilt on my part for being a teacher and being part of the indoctrination. Now I'm out of that. I don't want to be in that. I love teaching, but I'm not in that system anymore. But I mean, this is why everybody is so easily, one of the reasons, there are many reasons, but one of the reasons why everybody's so easily mind controlled is because people are dumbed down through the education system. We don't know economics, so we can have somebody like Bernie Sanders that comes out and is like, stop the banks, and people are like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so easy, and it's so overwhelming because we've been lied to about so much. You have to really spend a lot of time researching and talking to people and bouncing ideas off of people and letting thoughts formulate in your head, and it's just very, it's also very exciting, don't get me wrong, because I love learning, and I love learning new things and talking to people that want to talk about ideas and stuff like that. But it's a lot. Like, we have a lot of work to do,
I have a question for you real quick. With teaching, did you notice that they restricted you? Like, could you be yourself, or was it like if you went off the path, it was like...
Totally. Yeah. It was like, I remember before I was really woke, there was this in LA, and I was a long-term sub, and I almost got my credential. I was a long-term sub for like 8 years, and then I got my ESL certification. I taught overseas, and I came back and I taught at prep school. But I taught with my one school. In a lot of ways, when you're subbing, you make your money like really just making connections with other schools. So one school, I taught with my cousin. My cousin was a teacher at another school. I taught with my 6th grade teacher. And I was like, I'm going to get my credential. And they both were like, don't do it. And then I remember I had this one because they were both miserable. They were like, they were very creative and stuff. But I had this one long-term class, and they had this system called open court. And I remember the way that they were teaching the kids, it was just boring. And I bought my own materials in, and I was teaching them the same stuff. It was just like alphabets, right? And I remember and alphabet sounds like phonics and stuff like that. But I bought my own materials in, and I was like, you know what? This is boring. They're not getting it. I'm going to think of another way. I'm going to do something more exciting and more engaging. And I brought that in, and they had a group of people to come in and observe me. And they fired me from that from that from that, just not teaching in general, but just that particular like job. And I was just like so puzzled. And I remember one day too, like even a lot of the other teachers too were falling into it. Like I remember like I had this teacher's class and they finished their work early, and I was reading this book on like just clairvoyance, right? And I gave them an essay writing project, and like, all right, if you were to have any superpower, what would you have? Would you do like, would you use telekinesis, or would you use, would you be able to create money out of thin, or whatever, you know what I mean? And I remember the teacher got so livid and was just like, this isn't school, and I mean, it was just crazy. I didn't really get along with a lot of the other teachers too, because they were very indoctrinated as well, and they never really questioned anything. So I have some teachers, some friends that I made, some teachers I made friends with through the years, but it's been very Charlie horse, sorry. It's been very like
you fall off the screen, you're like, oh, like,
it's been very frustrating. And then I thought, when I went to Taiwan, I lived there for 2 years and I taught English, and I thought that like it was just in America. This is like even more heartbreaking. I thought it was just in America. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go outside the country and be a teacher, and I'm gonna travel the world teaching. And it's even worse there because I know I'm being general, and I know there are exceptions, but Asian culture, and I've grown up in Asian culture, I've like, taught, lived, worked, they don't really question anything. That's one thing I'm grateful about being an American. We still have that rebellious spirit, where they have a blind obedience to authority, to government, right? And they don't question anything. And all of the like Bill Gates, they have Pearson educate. He has some stock or owns something in like Pearson Education, and that is like dispersed all throughout, like internationally. So the narratives are all the same, right? And then I would tell my students, oh, practice your English, watch CNN. Right? Like they're going to get any diversity of thought, BBC, all of these institutions are taken over. And then I got into curriculum writing with this one company I was working for, because I thought that I was really unhappy with a lot of the narratives that were presented in the curriculum. And I was like, oh, well, I just need to go in and, give my perspective, and they weren't having it. So, it's just, hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I was really into InfoWars when I was overseas, and I saw, do you know Charlotte Iserby? Oh, dude, you should check that out. You should check it. Charlotte Iserby and John Taylor Gatto, the education dumbing, how it was done. She talks about this. I don't even know if she's alive now, but there's a really good interview of her in the 80s talking about how the communists would take over the school system and how they're going to do it. And lo and behold, they've done it. So yeah, let me see. I got some questions for you. So you seem like you're pretty conscious. And have you done any research about hip hop? You're a conscious rapper. I've seen some of your songs and stuff. Have you done any research about hip hop and how it's been used to control the consciousness of the inner city community? Or have you just noticed how it affects people by observation, or both?
It started with observation, I would say. I got turned on to a lot of conscious rappers, like people like Jedi Mind Tricks. They were talking about the wars and how stupid rappers were, and then I kind of learned through that. And then I kind of went back into history, because I didn't understand hip hop history, and I listened to the first one of the first guys, because hip hop started as a dance, like so they were playing break beats at a party, and instead of playing the full like James Brown song or something, they just played the break beats where there was no singing. People would dance, so it was all good energy, exercise, good vibes. They have videos of it. One of the first rappers was he wrote the song Hip Hop Did a Hop It. That song, the Sugar Hill Gang song.
Yeah.
So that the whole hip hop, or at least rap in the mainstream, was started on theft, because his manager, some guy came and was like, I want to manage you. Came near Casanova, I forget his name, Grandmaster Caz, and stole his song, and then went and made the Sugar Hill Gang, and he raps the other guy's verse, and he even says his name. He was too either dumb or arrogant to change it, so he says, I'm the Caz. Like, he says I'm that guy, because he stole his lyrics and wasn't
that sounds
good
like
enough
some
to change it.
Oh my god.
And that rapper who had his lyrics stolen from said that once the 90s hit and people like NWA came out, and that was all like rebellious, because before that it was more storytelling, like Slick Rick or the people who were talking about the corruption, but it was more like an outside perspective, like this isn't good. Then it kind of became, but NWA was revolutionary. I'm not taking anything away from them, but after that, the record labels, Grandmaster Caz said, started saying, if you're not going to rap like that, we're not going to sign you. They didn't want conscious people. They didn't want, good energy people. And over the years, they've kind of created that culture where now it's at the point where if you're Black or sometimes Hispanic and you don't want to act like that, which it's like some people like anime, some people like soccer, basketball, everybody's unique individuals, but they have kind of made that the culture, at least lied to people and said that's the culture, when you can go back 100 years. Like I remember in school I was reading Booker T. Washington, and I remember thinking, I was like, he's smarter than anybody today, like any politician, anybody on either side, right or left. Like, how is he this wise in the late 1800s, early 1900s? And then rappers were wise, and then all of a sudden now it's getting dumber and dumber. Now they can't even say words. It is fun to listen to, but it's like, take a pill, die, and you're like, oh my god, like. So they definitely have used hip hop culture. Although hip hop's awesome, everyone should be able to tell their story, to socially engineer people, and also the biggest trick, in my opinion, is convincing an entire community and an entire genre that that's who they are. Like, it's like, if you're not that, they call Kanye West for literally just being intelligent and thought-provoking. All these sort of mean, in my opinion, racist names for like that's what they think they are. But meanwhile, you could say the most ignorant thing and that's cool, but you talk about, something intelligent. So that they definitely have used hip-hop culture, the bigwigs. I don't know if purposely or just for money, but it is disgusting, and it's not fair. Thank God there's people like Kanye, and there's other rappers. I know Waka Flocka, Saha the Prince, a few of them who are breaking against that narrative and being like, listen, I don't know if I like I'm vegan. I remember he said that. He's like, I think I might be Native American. That's what my grandma told me. Like, he said, I don't know if you've seen it, it's a great clip. He said, I'm Black, but I'm not the Black that America says I am. And they freaked out, but he's like, I'm like, he's like, I went across the world. Like, I figured some shit out. Like, totally. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm a musician too, but I'm more of a rocker, and I do kind of like indie like stuff like that. And people are like confused because I'm not into hip hop. And I used to be into old school hip hop and stuff, but I don't really know a lot of stuff anymore. And I'm just kind of like, people come up to me and say names, or they'll play a song. I'm just like, I don't know. Like, but people are freaked out because I'm Black and they think I'm supposed to be a certain way.
Like, you should know every rap song or something?
Yeah, but I'm not going to lie, I've really gone off the hip hop track. I don't really know anybody.
I'm the same way. Like, I haven't listened to a new rapper in years. Like, when Kanye's album came out, I listened to it, but I don't like none of these new people. Like, I'm just not into it. I have my old songs, but I've been listening to like Stevie Wonder and like Jackson 5 and stuff. Like,
yeah, me too. I like a lot of Motown. I like a lot of Motown, old soul, stuff like that. But I'll listen to African music. I'll listen to like, experimental crazy stuff. There's this guy. Have you heard of Benjamin Clementine?
Mm-mm.
Crazy dude. Anyway, I like a lot of like weird experimental music, and people are like confused as to why, but I don't know. I like being inspired. I guess that's what it is. A lot of the hip hop doesn't inspire me now, but I think it was purposely done. I know there was like a memo that somebody supposedly published talking about that they were going to change the consciousness, of the inner city community by only allowing certain rappers to talk. And music is very, very powerful. I mean, you can even, on a biophysical level, right? The beats that are used, the energy, the lyrics, how we respond to symbolism and and lyrics and stuff. Even though we have a good beat that we're like dancing to, right? And then it changes our body chemistry, our brain chemistry as we're moving. But then we're if you are repeating these demeaning lyrics, then it feeds your subconscious, right? And that becomes like your spirit. It's really, when you really understand how this shit works, you see how demonic it really is.
Absolutely. Even I used to like Eminem growing up. Obviously, like hearing him rap fast. Like, I remember I've heard Forgot About Dre on the radio, and I was like, well, this song's unlike anything else. But I look back on it now and I'm like, dude, this guy's lyrics are demonic. Like he's talking about killing his mom and like
Yeah.
I'm like in 5th grade listening to this stuff. He's a talented guy, but as far as the message, it's like I don't even listen to that stuff anymore. Like you said, I don't let it in my space.
So
it's like when I have you too. I'm like, okay, that's more my speed.
Yeah, I know. When I went into the club, I'm not into clubs. I hate clubs. I rather glue my hands to my feet. Like I'm not a fucking like club person. And I went with some friends, and I was dragged, okay, and I'm just sitting there, and I was just like, I try not to be a snob, but I feel like once you understand how this works, once you see, you can't unsee, right? And then I had a receipt. This is how fucking bored I was. I had a receipt and I was like, all right, I'm gonna see the next 10 songs. So it was like I had 4 categories. One was just sex, drugs, violence, and materialism.
Yeah.
And 7 out of those songs were about sex. 1 was drugs, 1 was violence, 1 was materialism. That was playing in the club. And I was just like, wow, And when as a teacher, I think I really started to wake up when I saw my students, like 7-year-olds, 10-year-olds repeating this stuff and internalizing it. It really disturbed me. And that's when I really was like, whoa. Because as an adult, you're like, hey, you know what I mean? You're just like, but when you see kids doing it, it really just like rips your heart out,
I saw the clip, and I love the guy. I like the song a lot, the Old Town Road by Lil Nas. I think it's really fun. But he went to like a school of like 8-year-olds, 7-year-olds, and they're all singing it. They're freaking out, like, because he's there. It's a really cool video because they're going crazy. But in the lyrics, he says, lean all in my bladder, promoting codeine usage to 6-year-olds. And then he also says, I think like I fucked your girl or something. Like I get it as a rapper. Like I said similar lyrics. I don't know about lean. I'm not into lean, but like, I fucked your girl. Like I get it, but it does hit home when you're like, you see, 1,000 7-year-olds sing it and you're like, my old music, I used to talk about drugs, not really bad drugs. I would say I always tried to stay on like, psychedelics and stuff, more interesting stuff. But even then, now I realize, like, people are like, An0maly, like, my 4-year-old kids watch your stream, don't curse. I'm like, first of all, your 4-year-old probably shouldn't be watching this thing, but you do have that impact, so it's hard enough. Like, I think about it, and now I make sure, I'll have fun sometimes, but it is something to think about, whereas, some rappers, they don't think about it at all, and it's literally like, it used to be Lil Wayne, and, like, these people used to be like, yo, I'll kill you if you come at me, type stuff, and now it's literally like, I'll kill you for $1,000, and you're like it's like just like that type of music. And people on the street, when I see really goony, like crackhead, like street people that are gonna like do some crazy shit soon, they're always listening to that music. It's the weirdest thing. I see them come and listen to music. I was like, I bet there's gonna be, and every time they walk past me, it's literally like a verse about killing someone for an amount of money.
Oh my god,
like,
yeah.
I'm good at telling energy where it's like I don't, I could just tell. I'm like, that's like a, what I'm saying? Like, I live in a city where, like, you just know who you're walking past. And almost 100% accuracy, there's a lyric about killing someone for an amount of money. That's all these people are listening to. And I know they're, like, those are the people that are going to do it because people...
They're getting... It's black magic, mind control, brainwashing. That's what it is. It's seriously. Like, I joke about it, but I'm like telling the truth, but I'm not.
It definitely is.
Yeah,
and especially if you mix it with like those type of people,
and especially if
it with drugs and like delusion.
Yes, and
stuff, they're like literally mind controlled.
And as a teacher, I'm dealing with these kids that are flipping out, that are being put on fucking psychotropic drugs at like 5 years old and shit.
Yeah, Adderall, which they give to kids, is like cocaine that lasts like 12 hours. It's insane. Like it's literally, in my perspective, as strong as cocaine that lasts 12 hours and then makes you feel like crap afterwards. I was teaching this one class and we were watching it was like Aladdin or some shit. And we had this kid, he walked out and I was just like, okay, well, the door is open. I'm going to just see where it goes before I get up because I'm like, I have to stay in the class with the kids. I'm just kind of watching before I have to go so far. He like gets up, walks out, walks back in and just comes back and fucking punches this girl in the face. And she's poor girl. She's just watching the movie and all of a sudden just like this boy just comes and punches her like in the face.
And this is like, and
Sheesh.
I know he was on that stuff. I know he was on that stuff.
Oh, on Adderall. Yeah, it's strong.
You know?
Like it jacks you
Well,
up.
I
You
don't know if it was
sweat.
Adderall, but it was some kind of like antipsychotic. These antipsychotic drugs, these SSRI drugs, they're terrible. I really do believe that they open up portals and they, like how they say alcohol
yeah.
is spirits, but like these SSRI drugs, especially you putting 4-year-old kids on this, 5-year-old kids on this stuff.
A lot of shooters, and also like
Yeah,
I
all of them.
know, I'm not going to get into specifics, but I know like someone who did something crazy in public, didn't kill anybody, but like did something like weird and got arrested for it, was friends with a pastor that I'm friends with, and called him like from jail. Like it was one of the publicized stories, and said he doesn't know what he did. Like literally it was like he was like, I had a dream and then I woke up and I drove there and I did that. Like it wasn't like he's a crazy, I mean, he obviously screwed up somewhere, but I think when you're weak mentally and you maybe mix it with drugs, like you said, I think you're creating a space that someone can literally, whether it's a demon or a person, can tap into and literally control you. Because he's like, I don't, like it was like, I had a dream and then I'm here, I'm arrested and I'm on the news. Like that's like, it's not like he planned it out. So that's happening to a lot of these shooters. As soon as they snap out, they're like, I don't even know what had happened. Like I'm not a shooter.
Imagine that, man. That's so terrible. Like that just oh God, that must be terrible, Jesus.
Yeah, but that's on people to you have to really stay mentally strong. And I've had a demonic experience, like sleep paralysis, and I've come to the conclusion, I'm not totally sure, but if you're weak, like mentally, you're weak physically, and you mix it with some sort of drug, your body's weak, and when your body's weak, you allow others to kind of enter one way or another.
You're not the steward of your own body. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I believe that.
And if you're down, people can take advantage of that.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Do you ever listen to Bob Dylan?
I haven't that much. I obviously know who Bob Dylan is, but I know it's like either you're a huge fan or I'm like I've only heard like one of his songs.
He has the same cadence as Eminem. I wanted to bring that up since you said you were in Eminem. Music isn't as demonic. I don't know. Maybe another inspiration.
Is his music demonic or no?
No. I don't think so. I think he was woke in a lot of ways. So I just brought that up. I want to bring that up since you said you like Eminem. Eminem is the first person that I've known since Bob Dylan to have that same kind of rhythm and style. Bob Dylan wasn't a rap. If you listen to Bob Dylan and you listen to Eminem, you'll get their rhythms are very similar, like to how they rap.
I listen to Bob Dylan. I dated a girl in high school for a little that was like a huge Bob Dylan fan.
Oh, dude, he's deep. I like Bob Dylan a lot. Yeah, he's. I mean, I didn't appreciate him though until I got older because I remember my dad he liked that stuff, and I was like, deep and dab. You're like, who the fuck is this dude? Like, what is he like? Because he does have like a weird voice, and he's just like But he's a pretty deep cat. So, who are your most influential hip hop artists and rappers, or just musicians in general?
Yeah, I would say when I first started rapping, it was people like Eminem at first who made me want to rap, and then Jedi Mind Tricks, Atmosphere at the beginning, and then kind of as I moved on, I heard other people. And now that's what kind of got me in the game. But now I kind of I'm more inspired by like worldly events, and that was always kind of my thing too. But those are the people that I could really think of that got me into rapping.
That's cool. Do you what role do you think art plays in changing the world, music and art?
I know it was Andrew Breitbart who said, I think he said culture or politics is upstream from culture. So he was trying to say in order to win politics, you got to win the culture, which conservatives don't really do. But even deeper than that, it's like our culture is what kids think is cool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have to, and conservatives and libertarians don't really do this enough. You have to make good music. Most of them don't. You have to make good movies. Most of them don't. So it plays a huge role. It's like it shapes our social, what we think is cool, what we think is funny, what we think is awesome. So it's very, 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 very important. Music is everywhere. It's in every commercial, every TV show. People listen to it every day. So it plays a huge impact, not just in entertainment, but in what shapes people's perception, what shapes their lives, what shapes who they become. So and that's my thing too. I think conservatives, not all, but some, spend a lot of time complaining but don't actually create anything like, you know, valuable in that space, and then don't support people when they do, and
Yeah.
just put a highlight on things they don't like instead of. So I would love to see more like people come out and make great music.
For sure, for sure. But the thing is, the thing that's messed up is a lot of the power and control is already dominated by leftists in the arts and entertainment industry. And it's just like, I feel like in order for it to have a big impact, we're going to need more financial support for artists that's not leftist. And that's a frustrating thing about it, you know?
Possibly, I think so, but I mean, you look at Kanye, he built his empire, he spoke how he spoke, and his album still went #1. You know, it's like he already has too much power, so they can't really do much about it.
He already, I'm just saying for some, I mean, and I'm not complaining because I
Yeah.
have a plan for what I'm going to do with my music too, but I'm saying like, I feel like there's just a huge majority of the artists, or they're either they're leftist or they are like closeted, like, you know, libertarians or conservatives, and they're afraid to come out because the mob will just eat them or destroy them, you know. And you see all of it's terrible.
Almost the whole industry.
Yeah.
But I would say you just got to come on the outside. Like there's
Yeah,
a
oh,
rapper
totally, yeah.
nowadays. Have you heard of Tom McDonald?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I
He's
just
getting bad
discovered.
treatment. You know, they're trying to shelve his songs and stuff, but if you build enough following,
Yeah,
and,
totally. Yeah,
views,
I'm not
like,
even.
You're gonna have to go on the outside. They're not gonna play your
Oh.
songs on the radio. They're not gonna like you. They're gonna try to ruin
Oh
you.
yeah,
at
I'm
every
not
turn.
even thinking about Hollywood. I'm
Yeah.
studying and doing my own stuff for the outside. I'm like, they're not even cool to me anymore. I can't
Yeah.
even, like, I look at them with disgust. I'm like, oh, and there's so many people that I used to think were cool, and I'm just like just disgusted by right now, you know?
Absolutely. I would say with conservatives though too, like you know, we don't have the industry, but for not that I care, but like I made a song for Trump. It has millions of views, like organically. No, almost no major conservatives play it, promote it, which is fine. I don't need it, but it's like, you know, you have these mainstream conservatives like, how come the music industry doesn't like us? And then they promote some of the worst stuff constantly that's like not cool at all.
It's
And
like
I'm not trying
they
to-
don't
I'm not
have
hating
good
on
art
people.
taste.
No, not at all. And no, I get it, but it's like if you don't at least lead people to someone who does, but it's
Yeah.
almost like they don't like you if you're cooler, you know? Where it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I'm not-
totally.
It's not a
Because-
competition, but it's like sometimes you see certain things that conservatives do, and I know because I was that kid when I was 20 that like I'd look at some of these people and it would make me never want to be a conservative, you know?
Yeah, 'cause they're
I'd be
just
like,
not cool.
see a minute-long Tommy Lauren video, and I actually, you know, like her and think she's a smart girl, but it's like I'd see that when I was 20 and be like, ugh, I'm not that. I'd rather listen to like Big Timers and
yeah,
you know,
totally.
that's
The
where I was
perception
at.
needs to be changed, and I think, you know, a lot of people think that politics is the way that's going to change the world. You know, I mean, and let me ask you what you think before I comment on that. What do you think about, like, just feel like people just have tunnel vision, right? And they're just like, oh, politics is going to change everything. And that's good. It's all politics. And, you know, just got to find the right guy and who's honest and, you know, lead us to the promised land. What are your thoughts on that?
I always say change yourself to change the world. Focus on yourself, whether it's Trump, Obama, you know, communism or capitalism. You gotta be successful and find a way one way or the other. But also that's the problem with both sides, but especially the left, is they want to make government bigger and bigger and bigger because they think it's going to solve all the problems. But historically,
totally.
That's why I'm more right wing now, is because I don't think government has the answers, and I don't want them to have any more power or money. So,
but the
one way or
right,
other,
looks at.
you have to focus on yourself, and I don't think they're going to come with the solutions anytime soon.
But I think that the right focuses on a lot of corporations. So it's like so both sides are kind of looking to entities bigger than themselves to fix everything. You know?
Yeah, and on the right wing, here's something they never say, because they're, you know, it's like free market, that's fine, but in America, there's something called fiduciary duty for companies. So if you're a company, you have to make max profits. You're forced by law. If you don't maximize your profits, you can get sued by your shareholders. So they, like, when people do corrupt things because they care about money more than people, it's in the system. They're not allowed to not do that. Like if I'm like, let me change from plastic to hemp because it's cheap, you know, they could sue me. So that's got to be looked at. Of course, you don't want to ruin the shareholders and throw over capitalism, but we do have a system. That's where leftists are right. We do have a system that does breed, like capitalism over morality. That's why you go to Europe and McDonald's actually tastes better. Here we made it, but it's the worst in our country. You go to Japan, it's like luxury food. How can we invent it and it's the worst in our own country? How come, like Bernie Sanders says, how come pharmaceutical drugs are cheaper in Canada? Like there is a lot of lying and deception, and I feel like the right doesn't want to, but Trump does a good job of that. That's why he actually said we can get drugs from Canada now. So it's like he's a legend, but it's like a lot of these other conservatives are pretty not legends.
What is it called? Fiduciary something? I'm making a note.
Yeah, fiduciary duty, I believe. I don't know the exact.
Fiduciary duty.
Yeah.
Fiduciary.
And what it is? Yeah, you could look it up. I might have mispronunciated
okay.
it, but it's basically like, as a company, when people give you stocks and shareholders, they're essentially investing in you. So you have to try to maximize profits, because if you take their money and then you lose money, they're losing money. So they've made a weird law that like you have to maximize it. Like you have to, if you don't do that, then you're open to a lawsuit. So I get why they do it. It's so you don't ruin other people's money, but then, you get it.
No. I'm sorry, I cut you off. But basically, what you're saying is just that you're maximizing profits, but you're basically it forces it's bad for like consumerism, right? Materialism, and it creates all these other issues that we're having, right?
And that's something that what's his name said, Martin Shkreli, before he got thrown in jail, the big pill guy. He got famous because he made the AIDS pill like 300 times as expensive, and they made him look like a villain. He was kind of like villainous, but he said on like one of the hip hop blogs, I forget which one it was, like Breakfast Club or something. He's like, I'm not. You could blame me, but he's like, I'm not the only one doing this. Everyone's doing it, and a lot of times it's because we have to do it. It's like I could raise it to a certain amount, but I'm open to a lawsuit if I don't, bring it to a certain level. If I say, I want to give it away for $1, now you get sued by the shareholders. So he said that, and I was like, they always scapegoat one or two people.
Yeah,
so
they
they
throw
don't
people
actually.
under the bus.
Yeah, he got thrown under the bus. I mean, he wasn't the best guy, I don't think, but I think he's just the fall guy for the pharmacy industry.
Well, they're a demon within themselves. I fucking hate the pharmaceutical industry. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. What do you think? What artists do you think are the most woke? So, example: comedians, actors, musicians, models.
The most woke, I will say. I think I love what Kanye was doing these last couple of years. Just like his thought process, and he wasn't even led by politics. It was more just, he had a certain feeling, and he was going with his feeling. I like B.O.B. a lot. I don't know if you know B.O.B., but he's gone off. He sang like airplanes in the night sky. He was very mainstream, and then he got into like the flat Earth theory, and everybody wrote him off. But if you listen to like those albums, like even if you don't agree with that theory, everything he's saying was like spot on. He started off a song, he said, food should be a medicine. Tesla shit on Edison. Started dropping elements and shit been crazy ever since. So ask me if I'm voting for a donkey or an elephant. I do not have a preference. Miss me with that extra shit. The whole album he's talking about chemtrails, like weather manipulation, like cloning. Like he's talking about this shit. He went from like famous like #1 radio hit to talking about that shit, and everybody dropped him. But he's very wise. I think it's interesting. There's as far as like celebrities, I'm very impressed with Rob Schneider on Twitter. He supports Trump. This channel will start with the podcast between me and my best friend, and we interviewed him when he first came out about vaccines and stuff. So awesome. He's like really woke and really, really smart. Yeah, for sure. Rob Schneider is great. Those are the people on my radar.
right now. I guess that's a good answer, but I guess I wanted the answer to be like what group? Because I have a theory.
What group?
Like comedians, actors, musicians, models.
Comedians, actors, musicians, models.
Or it could be.
I mean, I would say probably comedians, but I don't know. It's
tough. Yeah. No, I just, it's kind of
Yeah,
like a
I
little
would
mental
say
survey I'm taking
I would
because,
say yeah, comedians they're not PC. Like if you go to a comedy show, they're usually pretty accurate and pretty funny.
yeah, because my friends and I were talking about this, and we think it's pretty much just like comedians and then musicians, right?
Actors are pretty dumb, yeah.
But you know why? Like, I was a theater arts major, and acting. I mean, all these art forms have been totally corrupted, but I think acting has really been focused on being narcissistic, where it's not supposed to be. When you like study a character and study a person, you're supposed to really try and see the world through their eyes and be not judgmental. And there's a lot of research and stuff involved, so it's not as self-centered and narcissistic. But now it's become about celebrity and power and pictures and all this other stuff. So people are just really in their own head and about themselves, and they aren't really actors. You know, generally speaking, I feel like they're not forced to look outside of themselves. So that's why they're so stupid or dumb, you know, and just kind of airheaded.
I'm sure that plays a big part. I think also like comedians, you know, they're not PC, so they just say whatever.
Yeah.
Like they're like trumping, you know. It's
Yeah,
like they
yeah.
don't give a F. Like musicians, a lot of them are creative and write for themselves. They have talent,
Yeah.
but a lot of them are also puppets. You know, that's why
Yeah.
they're not as woke, because a lot of them people just write for them and they just sit there and sing. Whereas actors, I always joke around. They're, you know, it is a talent, it is a skill, and it's a great life skill, but you're pretending to be someone else. So imagine if you're famous. Like I wouldn't say famous, but people know me for being myself, which is a blessing. But like imagine if I was 1,000 times more famous than I am now. Everywhere I go, people just dropped on their knees, oh my god, and they liked me for someone I was pretending to be. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god, it's Iron Man. It's Iron Man. And like, you know, it's like I'm 5'6". Like I'm not 5'6", but you know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
they think this guy's like the god, so you get treated like a god for pretending to be someone else. At least if you're a musician, hopefully you wrote your own music. Maybe you didn't, then you are kind of, you know. And if you're a comedian, you probably wrote your own stuff.
Yeah.
So you're getting god-like treatment, better treatment than anyone in this country for pretending to be someone else.
Yeah.
It's no surprise they can't tell the truth. Their whole life is like
Based on
acting.
lie, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like it is a weird phenomenon. It's
Yeah,
like, whoa,
and
thank
it's-
you so much for being in like that guy in Friends. Like, I'm not really that guy. Like, some smarter guy wrote the funny stuff, and I just said.
And you know what's funny is just that, like, you know, people don't really. I mean, I lost my train of thought. Somebody's knocking. Anyway, a lot of actors, they have to pretend to be something that they're not, and it must be kind of like a personal hell too. Imagine just being that famous where you can't go anywhere, you don't have any privacy. It must be very crazy making, you know. And it's that whole thing of like worshiping false idols, you know, kind of like they say in the Bible, you know. But I also think too, we're in the mess that we're in because a lot of people give their power away to these people, you know.
Totally. I don't know. I've never been really into movies that much, and like in general, I don't watch TV. I never liked TV, but now I just don't watch it at all. Like,
yeah, me neither. I watch a lot of YouTube.
sorry, someone was knocking right after you said that. Someone knocked, but
snap.
when you let that stuff in, I think especially the commercials are very toxic. So you're watching like 10 commercials every 30 minutes of like pharmacy ad. You're sick, your stomach hurts, like, you know, cry, like, look at this dog, and you're like, it's awful.
Yeah, I know, it's bad. And plus, just going back real fast, comedians also too, they have to be more observant. I think that's why they're forced to look outside of themselves and deflect attention away from themselves to look at other people, to make joke. You know what I mean? They're looking at other people because what they're writing is based on, like, they're trying to make jokes so you can relate. So they have to write outside of themselves and they have to observe more. I think that's why they tend to be more woke.
I've gone to a few comedy shows, and it's funny because any liberal I've ever seen in a comedy show, they've always admitted they don't know what they're talking about. It's weird because it brings out honesty, and they're like talking about how obsessed they are, and then they admit that they might be wrong. Only would you see that in a comedy show. And then there was this one Italian guy. He made the best Trump joke, even though it was subtle. That some guy was hating on Trump beforehand, and it wasn't that funny. And the Italian guy comes up and he's like, listen, the last guy made all these Trump jokes, lost half the room, 50% of the room tuned out. He's like, what do I think? He's like, you don't know. I'm not gonna tell you. You know, he's like, probably like Trump, and he's like, He's like, I'm not trying to lose half the room, and it was really
Yeah.
funny because it was true. This guy was funny, but like I was there with friends who like Trump, and like literally he started bashing Trump and not even being funny. I'll take a good joke, and half the room did go silent because they just assume everyone agrees with them. If you're gonna make a Trump joke,
and it's
you gotta make it funny.
You gotta make fun of everybody. That's what like South Park and Simpsons, like all these, they make fun of everybody, right? I went to a comedy show, like it was doing South by Southwest, and there were 5 comedians, and 5 out of 6 of them were making fun of Trump and Trump supporters, and it was the same joke. It was the same joke. Oh, they're stupid.
Putin.
Oh, they're dumb. Oh, Russia. Oh, whatever. I'm like, okay. It's not like I was even insulted. It was just boring. And the thing that really pisses me off about comedy right now is on the left side, there's so much ridiculousness and madness on the left side that there's so many jokes that can be made, and nobody's even willing to touch that shit because they're afraid, you know? Like, even like the day after the election, remember that girl that was like, you better fix this shit right now, and she was turning on red and shit, like she was it's like the girl that like threw her arm out, you know, like when she was throwing stuff. And you know, even like the Democratic debates, it's like, even like with the Kavanaugh thing, right? When Saturday Night Live made fun of like Brett Kavanaugh and stuff, that was fine, but they could have had a whole other segment. They were just making fun of her, being like, what? I don't know. What? I don't know. Like, you know, they didn't, like, they could have, I was like, wow, so much comedy is lost because of this PC shit. You know, and it would be better if I don't mind if they make fun of Trump and Trump supporters, but it's just like, it's just getting old, and it's not even like original, you know?
That's what they do though with you know, music, film, and even now comedy is it's controlled, because if you like a lot of people, you know, I forget her name, but she's like one of the more famous people on SNL. Her Hillary Clinton was who like people changed their profile picture to the girl who pretended to be Hillary Clinton because that Hillary Clinton was cool. She's doing karate. She's actually funny. Yeah. So people see that, and then they like Hillary because like they create this character just like they do in movies. Oh my God, I'm so glad to see Iron Man. I'm not really Iron Man. I'm just an actor. But people, so they do that
like,
now.
Yeah, whatever, Iron Man.
You're the Hillary. Oh, you're Christine Blasey Ford. You're a legend because you know, it's they can't if they crack the narrative, the mind control slips. You know,
Kate McKinnon, I think.
Another way.
I think that's her name, Kate McKinnon or something.
Yeah,
like
Kate
that.
McKinnon. Yeah, no, she was a cooler Hillary Clinton than Hillary was. So a lot of people I know that supported Hillary loved that because it gave them like the thought that she was actually that cool. So you can't make fun of that, because then like. I do think it is like programming in that sense.
It is, and you're right, and it's not it's not coincidence they call it a television program, you know.
Definitely.
Do you think? Let me see. All right. Do you think since this election, your eyes have been open to other areas that we've been lied to about, other than politics?
Absolutely. Yeah.
If so, what? Can you have any examples you'd like to talk about?
Yeah. I would say the moon narrative, how ridiculous the moon narrative is. Just like whether people think we went or not, we haven't gone in 50 years. The leading, like, oldest NASA scientist said the reason we haven't gone back is because we destroyed the technology, and it's a painful process to build back again. So we had it in 1969 when we really didn't have any big computers. Like, we had a computer that wasn't even as big as powerful as a cell phone. And now we lost the technology. They can't find it. The mathematics, as far as like how far the space station is, you know, how far the moon really is, it's all constantly changing. They say now that the Earth's atmosphere goes past the moon because people started realizing that we might not be going as high. Like the International Space Station and the Hubble telescope is actually within Earth's atmosphere. It's not outside of Earth. So it's like, you know, I started looking at all this stuff, and I was like, they're lying about that a lot. I would say, you know, so much else, but one thing was... My
teacher's going to be so happy you brought that up. I know he's going to be, like, doing cartwheels. He's like, yeah! Shout out to Alex. He's going to be like, yeah. That's kind of a stretch, though. I know this. I'm just curious. What made you go from, like, Trump to the moon? What was that? What was that?
I just have too much time on my hands now because I do it full time. So just like, I guess the
somebody post something, you're like, oh shit.
the video that moon pilled me was it was NASA's scientist Don Petit. It's a video of him. He's a NASA engineer, and he said, I'd go back to the moon in a nanosecond, but we had the technology, we destroyed it, and it's a painful process to build back again. I was like, what? So I did more research, and they lost the telemetry data. They said that they taped over the moon footage, and now they say that they sold it.
They taped over that shit like you tape over an old VHS?
Yeah, they taped over. That's what Reuters said a couple years ago. Now they said they sold it, and they need to buy it back from a garage sale or something. And then I found out that we gave Denmark we gave Denmark a moon rock, and then they did a test on it and found out it was just petrified wood. And then we said, oh, no, yeah, we purposely gave you a fake moon rock. There's so many lies around it. People start doing math now because there's a lot of, you can say flat earthers, and they're doing like mathematics as how if we can leave the earth or not. And then all of a sudden, magically this year, a new report comes out that the moon is actually within the Earth's atmosphere. And it was done by European scientists who were looking at 2 decades old tech. So they just figured this out, even though it's a study from 2 decades ago. They're constantly lying. It's mind-boggling how many things I could disprove. But I'm not saying we did or didn't go, or we can or can't go. I can't prove that or say
but you know that they're fucking liars, so it's a possibility.
So much, and even like climate change, that's another thing I used to believe it's real. But the reason I don't, or I think it's exaggerated about, is in NASA's own papers. They themselves admit that they say Antarctica is melting, but it's growing here, it's melting here, it's melting here. They don't measure the center, they only measure the coastline. So of course the coastline is going to be hotter than the core of the ice, but they put the headline out and then they show you the data. So I like really crunch the data, and the more you get into, the more you realize I knew nothing.
Yeah, I know. But we have to realize too, we just in society, right? We place so much trust on people in authority, and I think one of the big problems that we have as a society is an appeal to authority complex, right? Like I'm not going to go a lot into it right now, plus time's almost up, but my awakening happened way before the election about all this stuff. It really came with me and personal experience with corruption in the medical industry. And I think that's the thing that people or the elite, the authorities get so upset about, because we figure out one lie. If, a lot of stuff that they've lied to about us, with cancer treatments and vaccines and all this stuff, if this has been perpetuated and it's been so prevalent for years and years and years and decades, then, what else have they lied to us about? So they don't want us to because it's like once you lose that trust in authority, then you really start to regain your power, and you're like, well, wait a minute, I'm not going to even, believe you now, because it's like, you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend that cheats on you all the time, and you're going to believe them now? No, but you got caught cheating. You got caught lying. You're a liar. And
absolutely.
Why should I believe you? But it's sad, because I feel like there's some people, no matter how much evidence you present them with, they'll still just they're so weak-minded, or so, I don't know what it is that, they can't even bear the thought of being lied to. And I think a lot of it has to do with either A, they don't want to feel like they're stupid or bamboozled, or it's, it is kind of heartbreaking and painful.
Yeah. It's tough. I would say it's promising in many ways. A lot of people are waking up, but also it's like some things, even like conservatives, it's like they know the media's lying about Trump, but you bring up the moon and they freak out. And it's like, you don't have to agree with me, but you can't tell that this is all a big lie, at least these 4 things that's not even debatable. You could say we went, but they don't want it. It's like, a lot of people definitely have their blinders on with certain topics.
No, and I'm really glad, I've been watching you for a while, but that's a frustrating thing too, because this channel didn't start off with politics. It started off with a bunch of other stuff, chemtrails and all the other stuff that the rappers are talking about, and vaccines and, climate change and all this other stuff. But it's that's a frustrating thing too. I feel like some people have become awakened through politics, and then they delve deep, and then some people, they're just on one tier. They just keep it at politics, and they can't go any deeper than that. Or they won't go any deeper than that. And to me, this election has been a phenomenon. I didn't think there was going to be anything more dramatic or exciting than the Obama election. Boy, was I wrong. Because I remember when that was going on, that was like, oh, it was, and now this is even crazier,
Like you said with that, I want to I always call people matrix breakers, as far as like the people who break the matrix, and then there's like your Ben Shapiro's, where it's like he'll tell you every law in the book, section 48.5, but everything's a conspiracy theory besides like basic surface. It's like surface level versus a matrix breaker. They both have value, but I'm not a fan of the surface level people, because
they get my nerves.
Everything in the world, but you say one thing that's definitely like he thinks everybody else is a conspiracy theorist. So it's like to me that's not.
And he's a dick about it. He's a dick about it. Like, I don't think, like, you don't have to say it. I'll call him a dick. It's my channel. That's not you. You're really diplomatic. You're really nice. He's a dick.
No, I've been going at him a lot. Not like in a mean way, but it's like he doesn't like Trump at all, but he's always wrong about it, and he's always very condescending about it. So it's like
that's what I'm talking about. I'll be like condescending, right? He's this very smart guy. He's very, he talks very fast. I think he was like a genius or something, and I think that's probably where he gets this kind of like biting energy, where he looks like a little boy. So I'm sure people come at him, kind of, because I feel like that too. I'm a smaller person, and people kind of try and talk down to me like I'm stupid, and I get really, but I also try and like to not always take that road where I'm talking to people like they're stupid or condescending. And he does that a lot. Like, I've never really seen him let up on anybody. I've never really seen him take the higher ground. I've never really seen him humble himself. He's always just like nya 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 nya, and that it gets old, it gets tired.
Attacking Trump, and he's wrong, and then he just calls everything a conspiracy theory. Like, he's never had like a real deep diving conversation. So
and it's unfortunate.
It's not for me.
And it's unfortunate, because I see people like that do have potential, and they just like cut themselves off.
Well, everyone has a role. That's his role. He's not that type of person. So the beauty of that is like, there's going to be someone else to fill that void.
Yeah, I guess you're right. You're right about that. But it's just like I said, it's unfortunate. But I'm over it. I'm bored to tears with him. He like bores me to tears now because of that. All right, we got 5 minutes because you gotta go. But I want to ask you 2 things. What do you make of Trump derangement syndrome? And do you see things getting worse before they get better? Are you pessimistic or optimistic about the state of this country?
So Trump derangement syndrome, I would say it's an issue that's been created by media and politicians who, don't want to accept Trump's victory, want to lie about it. They've really inverted reality in many ways, and it's causing, I think, mental illness and serious problems. I hope people kind of get out of that. You don't have to like Trump. You don't have to support him, but it's like, because of that whole ideology, it's shifted the Democratic Party so far gone that they're basically useless. I mean, they make Obama look like Nikola Tesla, like compared to them. Like, they're out of their freaking minds, and I mean, I don't even think he thinks that's cool. But it's a problem. Hopefully people get out of it. I think there's a heavy potential that it gets, really good, and there's a potential that it does get worse before it gets better. There's a saying, strong men create good times create weak men create hard times create good men. So I think right now we have weak men. I think we have weaker men than we've ever had in this country, at least that I've ever seen.
I know, man. It sucks for me.
In some ways,
it sucks for dating.
In some ways, it's good. We have good coffee and garlic aioli sauce with the fries. It's like, hipsters make good food.
You have skinny jeans for days, right? Every day,
like
skinny jeans.
Good fashion and stuff, but overall, it's not healthy. I mean, it's okay to be not aggressive and overly aggro, but it's creating some really disgusting norms, and I think hard times are definitely possible unless super strong men, stand up and, this next election, these next couple ones, and then also the shift of the culture is going to be what happens with social media. It's all in the balance right now. So whichever way that falls is going to really, I think, determine how. But that's even more important than Trump, I think, is like, and it's already happened, the culture shift. They've kind of thrown out their coolness a lot of ways, but there's a lot of work to be done. So I think people need to step up. Yeah,
I definitely think we're like this right now. We're like teetering on the edge,
it's dicey.
It's
every Trump tweet sends it one way. You're like, dude, don't say.
Totally.
They're a piece of crap. You're like, dude, shit, nah.
Totally. Okay, well, I'm gonna let you go because I think that's it. All right, homie. I'm so glad we connected.
Thanks for having me. It was lovely meeting you.
Yeah,
and
you too.
Just message me whenever.
Yeah, and I hope we get. I'm sure we know a lot of the same people, kind of. So I hope we meet paths one day and stuff. And tell people where they can find you.
It'll happen. Instagram at Dream Rare, DreamRare. On YouTube at An0maly, An0maly, and then that's it. I'm doing an event hopefully in September.
Are you on Facebook?
In Los Angeles, a live event. So then I'm gonna try to take it around the country if it goes well. Facebook, An0maly, same thing. An0maly.
Okay, send me your links and I'll put them in the description. All right.
Sounds good.
Right.
I gotta run and then I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Virstyne Henry from Truth or Toss signing off. Peace, through love, guys. Bye. Mwah.